Hey friends, welcome back to Fixing My Faith. Well, today we're diving into a trend that's gaining steam. It's the rise of anti-Christian bias as a political weapon, and how Jehovah's Witnesses are ready to exploit it. We're going to talk about Trump's new faith board. We're going to play you a short YouTube video that's gone viral in the past few days. And we're going to read from an eye-opening article from ExJW about a bill that could finally hold religious leaders accountable, that Washington bill. And we did a video on this a while ago, not too long ago, when the bill was passed. So we're going to read a little bit from ExJW on this. So let's roll.
To confront such weaponization and religious persecution, today I'm signing an executive order to make our Attorney General, who's a great person, she's going to be a great Attorney General, Pam Bondi, the head of a task force, brand new, to eradicate anti-Christian bias. About time, right? Anti-Christian bias. Yeah, you never heard of that one before, right? But it's about time, isn't it, though, really? So many times you hear, but you don't hear the anti-Christian bias. The mission of this task force will be to immediately halt all forms of anti-Christian targeting and discrimination within the federal government, including at the DOJ, which was absolutely terrible, the IRS, the FBI, terrible, and other agencies. In addition, the task force will work to fully prosecute anti-Christian violence and vandalism in our society and to move heaven and earth to defend the rights of Christians and religious believers nationwide. You've never had that before, but this is a very powerful document I'm signing. You got it now. First time you've had it. If we don't have religious liberty, then we don't have a free country. We probably don't even have a country. I will always protect religious liberty. And that is why today I'm on and really honoring a lot of people, but I'm announcing that I will be creating a brand new presidential commission on religious liberty. It's going to be a very big deal, which will work tirelessly to uphold this most fundamental right. This week I'm also creating the White House Faith Office, led by Pastor Paula White, who is so amazing.
That video is making the rounds, and here's the thing. Jehovah's Witnesses, they'll grab onto this. It's like a trend. They'll grab onto it like a raft. And they'll say, see, they're coming for all the Christians now. But what they're really doing is using the idea of religious persecution to avoid answering for their own behavior. And that brings us to Donald Trump's new Faith Advisory Board. On the surface, it's meant to protect Christian values. But if you read between the lines, it's really about shielding churches from legal scrutiny. Before we dig deeper, let's talk about the bigger picture, because something is happening, and it's going to affect more than just Jehovah's Witnesses. Donald Trump has launched a new faith advisory board. It's stacked with conservative religious leaders, and the trend is clear. This isn't about protecting victims. It's about protecting institutions. And under the banner of religious freedom, Trump and his allies are building a political shield, one that could deflect scrutiny from churches, even those with a history of covering up child sex abuse. Now this matters. Why? Because high control groups like Watchtower are experts at playing the victim. They're experts at it. We've seen it in court. And if anti-Christian bias becomes a headline issue, Jehovah's Witnesses will absolutely exploit it, painting lawsuits, court rulings, even government investigations as attacks on their faith. And they'll say, see, the world hates the true Christians. And they'll use that fear to keep the followers obedient, isolated, and silent. So if you're wondering why we keep exposing these cases, it's because the next 4 years might give Watchtower even more cover, more excuses, more ways to spin justice as persecution. Now let's take a look at this recent article from ExJW. It's titled Washington Bill 5375, Abuse Mandatory Reporting and Investigation, and it highlights how Jehovah's Witnesses are once again under the scrutiny for failing to report child sex abuse and for defending internal processes that keep authorities out. Let's take a look at this. Okay, so before we get into it on the Avoid article, I wanted to show you guys what the internet tells us about anti-Christian bias. This was a new term for me, and it says it refers to prejudice or discrimination against individuals or groups because of their Christian beliefs or practices, and it can manifest as negative attitudes, actions, or policies that disadvantage Christians, and this can include religious discrimination, harassment, or violence targeting Christians. So there's a whole definition on that. You guys can check that out, religious discrimination. So I guess my question is, as an activist, is now could they use this against us, ones that are speaking out? That were anti-Christian bias, you see. So I think it's going to be an interesting run here in the next 4 years. Let's see what ExJW, how they break this all apart. Okay, so on Avoid here, Miss Usato put this together, this article, and Confessions, Power, and Federal Probe, they fought to protect children, now they're being investigated. And it shows a picture of the Department of Justice, published by Miss Usato May 8th. So this is brand new, folks. Okay, someone said in the comments, I always call you guys folks. Well, I'm not going to call everybody brothers or sisters because that's just kind of hokey. And I could call you friends, but maybe someone's watching and maybe they're not our friends. I don't know. But I could say friends. It's probably just a little bit of a bad habit, folks. It's not real personable. But anyways, friends, the signature survivors and activists have been waiting for in Washington State. So what Miss Usato did, I thought was brilliant. She kind of gave us a timeline. Okay, here's what happened April 15th. Here's what happened May 2nd. And then May 5th. Things started to roll, and then February 6th it kind of talked about something there. But she kind of gave a timeline as to what was going on. Basically, that this bill got passed. I even ran a video on it. And this bill got passed in Washington, and they had mandatory reporting. It's all going through. Everything's great. So April 15th here, the state was just a signature away from adopting a law that would require clergy members to report child abuse to law enforcement authorities if they happen to learn about it through the act of confession. Now, activists have been trying for nearly 20 years to get all this bill passed, though the most significant momentum has occurred in the past 3 years. ExJW published this success under the Victory for Survivors Washington, and that's, I think, the article I read, and designates clergy as mandated reporters of child abuse, along with Mitch Mellon, a friend of the former Jehovah's Witness advocate, who had been alongside other Catholic and Jehovah's Witness activists striving for the bill to pass. Now, May 2nd, 2025, Washington State. Governor Bob Ferguson finally signed the Senate Bill 5375 into law on May 2nd, 2025. This is a law that now requires clergy to report suspected child abuse or neglect, even if they heard about it in private confession. This closes a loophole that had previously let clergy keep that kind of information to themselves. And with that, Washington became the 7th state in the country to adopt clergy reporting laws without religious exemption. Now, the activists who fought for the bill were beyond relieved. They pushed back against the outdated religious exemptions that let clergy hide abuse allegations, and they shared their own painful stories that had been kept in the shadows far too long. An article explaining this more is After Years of Debate, Washington Governor to Act on Clergy Abuse Report Bill Tomorrow. And friends, these links are in dark blue. I could click it right now and go into another article. I do have one article pinned to bring you to, but it's not here. But I'm going to pin Avoid JW in the descriptions. So if you want to do a deep dive into this, Miss Usato put all the information in this one article and all the links. So I'm just going to carry forth. It goes on to say, unfortunately, after the bill was signed, the relief was short-lived when the tables turned, and once again, it was not in favor for the states or survivors of abuse. Now, friends, May 2nd, 2025, now we're going to May 5th, 3 days. So it's like that bill was in effect for 3 days. Everyone had to report those 3 days. So May 5th, 2025, the DOJ, Department of Justice, barely 3 days later, the U.S. Department of Justice made its move. They announced they had launched a First Amendment investigation into the bill. The timing? It's not a coincidence. And this is a link to that investigation into the new anti-Catholic law, Senate Bill 537. I pulled that article up, read it. It's a good read. Again, the links are all in this article. And the next one is an article, WAW, Washington Law Mandating Clergy Reporting, by Trump's Justice Department. So we're going to just carry on and read the Avoid article here. It says, February 6th, the Capitol Visitor Center in D.C., President Trump. This new investigation comes in months after President Trump's speech at the National Prayer Breakfast, where he unveiled a new federal task force to tackle what he called the anti-Christian bias. And we've seen the video. I played 2 minutes of it at the beginning. And he also signed an executive order to establish a White House Faith Office and a Presidential Commission on Religious Liberty. And it seems like the fight is far from over. If you're wondering what the National Prayer Breakfast is, it's basically a God and egg type event, a political and religious meetup held every year in Washington, D.C. since 1953. And leaders from all kinds of faith backgrounds show up, including politicians, to share breakfast, pray, and talk about unity and faith. Now, in recent years, though, the event has stirred controversy, with some critics pointing to the lack of transparency and political agendas behind the scenes. It even split into 2 different events in 2023 because of those concerns. So here's a picture of Eisenhower House. Ida Eisenhower is shown on the far right here. And apparently the Bible students use this house. That's what this little thing says. There was some affiliation to Jehovah's Witnesses. Ida Stover Eisenhower was with the religious movement that would become Jehovah's Witnesses. So she was with the Bible students back then. And they had a breakfast prayer, and it was framed as a quiet, nonpartisan gathering focused on unity, moral reflection, and bipartisan faith. So that's a little bit of history in there. Okay, so what's next? May 6th on the timeline. This is just like 1 day later. Washington, D.C. and FFRF. Now, if you're wondering who that is, just hang in there. We're going to read about it. After the news of the DOJ, Department of Justice, and the Trump administration launching this investigation came out, the Freedom from Religious Foundation, FFRF, they threw back criticism on the DOJ's investigation, arguing that Washington's SB 5375 is a neutral, bipartisan law designed to protect children from abuse. So the FFRF argues that the DOJ's framing of the law as anti-Catholic is inaccurate and troubling, emphasizing that the legislation does not single out any particular religion but applies uniformly to all clergy members, including Jehovah's Witnesses. So Governor Ferguson, a practicing Catholic who also defended the new law, that's interesting. So here you got a practicing Catholic. He's stating that it aims to safeguard children and that the state looks forward to cooperating with the DOJ's investigation. When it comes to religion and law, there do seem to be two sides. Those who think confessions about abuse should stay sealed no matter what, and those who believe that covering up abuse in any form is not just wrong, but criminal. Well, let us know in the comments where you stand. Is it criminal or should it be covered up and not talked about? We're talking about CSA. Okay, so the FFRM, they slammed the DOJ investigation into mandatory reporting CSA May 7th, a day later. The U.S. Department of Justice, DOJ, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, announced the results of Operation Restore Justice, a nationwide initiative that led to the arrest of 205 individuals accused of child sex abuse and the rescue of 115 children. The Attorney General, Pamela Bondi, emphasized the department's unwavering commitment to protecting children, stating, "The Department of Justice will never stop fighting to protect victims, especially child victims, and we will not rest until we hunt down, arrest, and prosecute every child predator who preys on the most vulnerable among us." So that all sounds good. Will it happen? Will they stop all of the work that's went into Pennsylvania, all over the USA? There's a lot of work. Well, the governing body right now, they're being subpoenaed. Are they going to use this? I guess time will tell. If this is true, then maybe this new faith board is really going to do a lot to help move this forward. If what I have highlighted is true, if the Department of Justice, if they're never going to stop to protect victims, especially children, and they will not rest until they hunt down and prosecute every child predator. That's kind of what's happening in Pennsylvania right now. So we gotta be positive here. I think, sometimes we can think negative about all this, but maybe we can be positive about it a little bit too. So where is the line drawn when it comes to abuse? May 8th, New York Times. Now, I did pull this article up. In an article entitled "New Law Requires Priests to Break Seal of Confession to Report Child Abuse," it mentions JW spokesperson. I'm going to take you right to the article right here. And I just did a search for Jehovah. But there's the article. A new law requires priests to break seal of confession. So I'm just going to go down to where they talk about Jehovah. Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay, here we go. In a statement, Governor Ferguson said, "We will look forward to protecting Washington kids from sexual abuse in face of this investigation from the Trump administration." And as written, the new law in Washington applies to clergy of all religious traditions. The state senator, Noel Frame, the bill's sponsor, she said, was initially inspired by investigative reporting into Jehovah's Witnesses. Wow. So the whole thing was about investigating Jehovah's Witnesses, folks. So, the Trump administration might take up on this and say, wait a minute. We're about looking after children. We're not about letting this happen. Well, I guess only time will tell. But right now, what's going on in Washington has kind of been stalled. Now, Mariani Harding, a former Jehovah's Witness, reached out to Miss Frame around 3 years ago about an earlier version of the bill. Now, I'm just going to all the Jehovah's Witnesses in this article. The bill started because of Jehovah's Witnesses. So that seems to be a common accepted thing. Isn't that something, folks? You're in a religion. I couldn't imagine being a Jehovah's Witness right now, but imagine you're at the Kingdom Hall and these headlines are coming out all over New York. Like New York Times has probably they hit all over the world. It has a big outreach. And here they had to start a bill because of your religion that you're in. Wouldn't that wake you up a bit? It would me. Now, anyways, let's just go on. Jehovah's Witnesses do not engage in political activities, including lobbying. Now, I've done some videos that they actually do pay. They might not get out and put JWs, baptized JWs out lobbying, but they have lobbied. They've carried placards, and they brag about it in all their videos. You know, Rutherford, the days of Rutherford, they're carrying placards all over the place. So they've done lobbying. Now in modern days, along with the Catholics, there's professional lobbyists. You know, they make, I don't know, a couple hundred grand a year or something, 150,000. Now these lobbyists are professionals and they're paid to go in and take politicians out for lunch. They're lobbyists. So I've done videos on that. Maybe I can pin them to the end of this article. But anyways, they do lobbying, Jehovah's Witnesses. Just that it's not a JW that does it. The organization hires them to. Now, so Jehovah's Witnesses is all over the place in this article. It's interesting. The one portion here, he described the internal investigation as purely religious proceedings handled by elders. That was in the article. And we're going to talk about that for a bit because that is a statement within itself. Jehovah's Witness, their PR department, Jared Lopes, he states that he described the internal investigation process as purely a religious proceeding handled by the elders. So Jehovah's Witnesses don't want to turn that information over. They feel this is our thing. This is our clergy privilege, and they're making that public in the New York Times. I'll just find that. Yeah, here it is, right in the New York Times. Purely a religious proceeding handled by the elders. That's what the spokesperson for Jehovah's Witness, Jared Lopes, that's what he said in a statement. You know, we abhor it, but we handle this all in-house. You see, there's nothing there saying that, yeah, no, our first thing is it's a crime, and we report crimes to the police. Nothing like that. Nothing. So they're still hanging on to their old stuff, folks. I'm going to go back to the Avoid JW. I think this is pretty well the end of it. Avoid JW says this article will be updated as this investigation continues. So this is cutting news, folks. What's happening now may change everything for activism, and time will only tell. So once again, we see the same pattern. No accountability, no outside experts, our elders will just handle this. No justice for the victims. It's all kept in-house, unless the law forces their hand. Well, let's connect the dots. Trump's faith group protects churches. Watchtower claims they already follow the law, but in reality, internal investigations, no outside accountability, and the kids are left unprotected. Bill 5375 in Washington is trying to fix that. But you can bet Watchtower will oppose it behind the scenes, just like they've fought mandatory reporting laws everywhere from New York to Australia. We have to keep speaking out. We have to keep educating, because the next 4 years could either bring more justice or more religious loopholes. So that choice is being made right now in the courts, friends, legislatures, and media headlines. So we'll just have to see what's next. So thanks for watching, and share this with someone who still thinks it's just about religion, because it's not. It's about protecting children, not institutions. I'm Vern. This is Fixing My Faith. Keep living your life with love. We'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.